When you think about building your iPhone web app, think about two things. Think about what users can do with the iPhone and what you can bring to the user and the iPhone that is useful or fun. It doesn't have to be productive. It can be a great way to waste time and have a great deal of fun, contact other people. But anything that uses the iPhone functionality, so much of which is based on communication, whether it be email, whether it be text messaging, whether it be telephone conversations, so much of it is based on communication that's obviously a major area in which you should consider using iPhone. If you have information that you want to bring to the iPhone, and so many iPhone web apps present information, you should really know about data sources, and we'll talk a great deal about data sources. Every time you create an iPhone web app project in Dashcode, you get a data source for free, whether or not it's used. And a data source is either an XML file or a JSON file that looks like this. This is a JSON file. It's basically a listing of national parks, some of the national parks in the Northeast. It's based on the data that is part of the Dashcode browser sample, which gives you information about certain national parks with a location. You can scroll through this in a list like this, but what I've done, and I'll walk you through the process, is to show you data instead of just a list with information within it. We go down here into the 7 regions of the national parks in the U.S., and then within the national parks, such as within the Northeast region, we drill down into a couple of parks in that region. That gives us our multi-level browser. So if you are thinking of publishing information on your iPhone, think about data sources and how you can put them together. Data sources often are produced as a result of queries from databases. They could be scripts in FileMaker, PHP programs, and as you put them together, think about a couple of things. First of all, think about how people will get to them. Do you want to let them use a scrolling list like this, or a pop-up button inside the interface so they can select one of a certain number of items at, for example, the top level? These are the regions within the country. Think about everything you would think about for a user interface. How many of these items should there be? Of course, in iPhone, if you have a scrolling list, you can get very quickly through it by flicking with your fingertip. But if the list has 12,000 items in it, then your finger is going to get tired. So think about how you structure it. Do you want a long list? How can you logically split the list up? In this case, it's very easy with national parks because there are 7 regions. 7 is a great number of items to let people go into and select one and then move on and drill down within it. If you have a catalog with hundreds or even thousands of entries, think about putting in a level there, such as the first letter of the alphabet for the various entries. Look at the information that you have. Look at the resources that you have available to you. Now, this information can be either coded in files that become part of the app, or at runtime, the data source can be retrieved from a URL that can be a URL within your app's files, or it can be one that is being updated constantly online with the latest information. This is really one of the simplest way of publishing updated information to people, so that the latest information is always there whenever they look at it. They pick up their iPhone, touch the icon for your web app, and they get the absolute latest information if you have used a URL that is outside your own files, that is in fact a live URL. So look at the resources that you have. You may even have several versions of resources. You may have resources that you want all people to be able to see. You may want resources that are a great deal of detail. Using the catalog example again, perhaps your clients may want to see more information than people who are doing direct sales. And of course, within all of this, you can have links so that people can go to get more information or to purchase these items. So look at all of that information you have around, and you may have to actually be a little bit tough on this, because if you and your colleagues have produced a document that has, let's say, an entire page per product, or rules for games that take 2 pages to describe, but then the game is a great deal of fun and really hooks people, you may have to bring all this down. You have a smaller screen. People often with iPhone, they may use it for a long period of time, or it may be sort of in and out between phone calls or between email messages. So you may have to take some of that information you've already prepared and say, okay, this is for the web, but for iPhone I need this half of a sentence, and we'll take off from that half of a sentence and do the best thing that we can do and make the most entertaining and useful iPhone web app with a great deal of information, but on any individual item it may be very little information. So take a hard-nosed look at the information you have and how it can be useful to people wandering around the world with iPhones.